Hello, I'm Nicole Oliver, Director of Bellingham Parks and Recreation, and I want to welcome you to this important conversation about the future of the Civic Athletic Complex. As our community continues to grow, we need to update our plans for Civic to reflect our changing needs. We are updating the 1980s era Civic Athletic Complex Master Plan to develop a new plan that will be used to guide future development and uses of this important recreational park. We have a unique and strategic opportunity to reimagine the aging Civic Athletic Complex as an exceptional community space for generations to come. The Civic Athletic Complex has not received this kind of holistic attention in more than 4 decades. Just as we've built a renowned network of trails, parks, and greenways, this is our opportunity to plan a similar legacy for our community's central recreation complex. This moment is also exciting because as Carl Kosher Elementary School is nearing the end of its service life, there are possibilities to invest collaboratively with Bellingham Public Schools in ways that can benefit all members of our community. We are partnering with the school district to consider new locations for an elementary school within the Civic Complex, and that's why you'll see that the Carl Kosher School site will be included in our studies. And finally, we also know that while Civic will continue to be a destination for citywide athletics, its future can also better serve the surrounding neighbors with play spaces, lighting, and other amenities found at neighborhood parks. To start this work, the city conducted a recreation needs assessment in 2022 that included a survey of how all our athletic and recreation assets have functioned and what gaps existed in the system. We also conducted a complete inventory of the area, including the environmental constraints, deed and survey history, buildings, and other data, and we will share those findings in this presentation. And in February 2024, we entered into a formal agreement with the school district to evaluate opportunities to relocate Carl Kosher Elementary while meeting the recreation needs of our community. We are now embarking on the planning phase to begin to spatially map out the future of the site. This will consist of a series of community conversations this fall before going before the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board and City Council for final approval in the first half of next year. As we start this work, it's important to recognize that we are not starting from scratch. We are grounded in our existing planning documents like the Bike and Ped Master Plan, the Puget Neighborhood Plan, and the Comprehensive Plan. Perhaps most importantly, we are guided by the 6 principles the community established in our 2020 Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Plan, and those are preservation, connection, play, equity, resiliency, and inclusivity. These principles will serve as the foundations for our work. We now wanted to share some of the findings from the initial assessment work. First, we know that Civic is a well-used and much-loved asset in the community. It is our most visited park with the most demand for its facilities, with nearly double the number of visitors compared to Boulevard and Lake Padden parks combined. In fact, we average 72,000 people visiting this park monthly. Through our 2022 Recreation Needs Assessment, we also know that Civic has not evolved to keep up with the community demand for recreational amenities, like a community recreation center, more sheets of ice, expanded aquatics, new covered recreation spaces, and more. During our assessment phase, we also learned that the park has some unique conditions that make it unlike most other parcels of land in the city. First, the way that certain amenities were financed has left various obligations on them that limit their uses to recreational purposes. This protects recreational facilities so that they don't lose them to redevelopment over time. Second, while it may appear that there are city streets running through the park, there is actually very little city right-of-way in the park. This offers opportunities for some flexibility, but may also pose challenges when thinking about emergency response times. It's also important to remember that the site plays host to some important natural resources. The forest in the northwest quadrant of the site hides 2 tributaries of Whatcom Creek, and recent assessments have shown small wetlands dotting the landscape. These natural features offer an oasis for people and provide important ecosystem services to the entire community of plants, animals, and people. Turning now to some of the built facilities, Civic generally offers well-maintained facilities, but as more and more of those assets are brought online and age, we also know the maintenance obligations necessarily increase. We should also note some trouble spots. We know that Jerry Field number 3 has an outfield that is often unplayable for much of the year due to poor drainage. And several years ago, a large storm created heavy erosion on the forest side of the skate park. In the future, we also anticipate that Jerry Fields 1 and 2, Downer Fields, and Civic Field will need upgrades beyond normal maintenance to prolong their lifespans. Similar to the fields, the buildings and structure on site are well used and well maintained, but the maintenance burden is increasing. Joe Martin Field is in fantastic shape, with a potential upgrade of the concessions being one potential in the future. Civic Stadium has ongoing repairs for leaks, and the Sportsplex is currently finishing up a roofing project. Finally, the Arnie Hanna Aquatic Center we know has aging mechanical systems, and a separate study is underway to understand how to improve this whole building's functionality. As the city went through the assessment phase, inevitably opportunities emerged. These included repositioning the complex as a campus by clearly identifying entrances and gateways, creating a central destination to improve understanding and orientation when you're inside Civic, adding more vegetation and pervious surface, taking opportunities to improve energy efficiency and climate resilience, especially for our high energy use public facilities, offering the site as a sports tourism destination by hosting various tournaments and athletic events, adding park amenities to improve neighborhood use and integration, and improving circulation at the site. That assessment helps inform our next opportunity, where to locate community uses that we might characterize as high-intensity development. High-intensity development means developments that are more significant with a larger footprint, like a community recreation center, additional sheets of ice, expanded aquatic offerings, or the relocation of Carl Kosher Elementary. Our work started to focus on what parts of the Civic complex would be best for this type of major redevelopment. The relocation of Carl Kosher Elementary might be a perfect example of this kind of high-intensity development. Bellingham Public Schools is looking for about 5 acres of land, though most of their school sites average 8 acres. The school would be for 450 students, with the school building itself being 70,000 square feet and another 50,000 square feet of outdoor play spaces and gardens. The school needs certain security measures, including a fenced perimeter and a single entry and exit. Surrounding the school, spaces for bus and non-bus traffic to queue and accessible parking spaces are also required. Sustainable design elements are also important and should be included in the school design. The mutual benefits that could arise include broader access to recreational amenities, cost efficiencies for taxpayers, and new publicly accessible assets like playgrounds, turf, and an indoor gym that could be used when school is not in session. Similarly, a community recreation center could occupy a significant portion of the site. While we've just begun the work to define the parameters for the recreation center, there's really quite an exciting range in terms of funding and operation plans, partnerships, and the types of amenities that could be provided. One of the exciting opportunities that this process will explore is whether the recreation center could be integrated with other community assets like a pool or ice rink. In looking at potential redevelopment sites, we are examining the pros and cons of each site and what synergies are possible to enhance the whole complex. Initially, our internal team had considered 7 broad areas where the high-intensity developments might go at Civic, which you can see on this map. They are the lower Jerry Fields on Fraser Street, Jerry 4 on Puget Street, the central area north of the stadium and the Sportsplex, the forest on the west side of the site, the parking lot, the Downer Fields around Arnie Hanna, and the existing Carl Kosher site. After studying the composition of the forest canopy and finding many protected landmark trees, the city has removed the site marked as forest from consideration for high-intensity development. That leaves 6 sites currently under consideration, which present us with both constraints and opportunities. Some of the sites, for example, would need to minimize or compensate for environmental impacts. Other sites would require us to negotiate in terms of the terms and restrictions of the funding we received, or replace recreational facilities in other locations somewhere else in the city. On the other hand, there are opportunities to develop recreational facilities for broad complementary community benefits, to co-locate shared facilities or infrastructure like stormwater facilities or parking, and find financing efficiencies to conserve limited taxpayer funds. Weighing these opportunities and constraints will be one of the key trade-offs that this process will assess, and that is what we welcome your feedback on. You will have the chance to weigh in too at a public meeting on November 6th, where we'll begin to see some options about what emerging future vision for the Civic Athletic Complex might look like. We hope you'll join us there to give your input. You can also go to the project's Engage Bellingham page to learn more, ask questions, or give your input virtually. Thank you.